Good day, Sir Mondelo. I am Meh-nia, the reporter of this day. My topic is all about strategies, methodologies, and approaches in teaching science in elementary grades. Here are the strategies in teaching science in elementary grades, and here are some tips of this. First is utilize developing math skills and problem solving. Math skills are increasing at the age and students can measure accurately and begin problem solving. Provide opportunities for students to measure a variety of materials, both liquid and dry ingredients, using metric and standard measurements, allowing this age group opportunities to solve problems on their own or in a group setting encourages independent thinking. An example is letting students set up a recycling center on their own. Next is engage students by asking questions. So, critical thinking skills are part of brain maturization of this age group and need to be encouraged and stimulated. Forming a hypothesis by predicting what will happen in an experiment provides an ideal opportunity to foster critical thinking. Help them along by asking questions such as what happened next? Why did that happen? Do you know that name for that? Thinking through their answers pushes kids to order the thoughts and helps them begin to see how world works. The next is confidence through participation. So students in this age group understand the world around them somewhat and often become anxious about the future. They crave confidence in their work and are usually eager and desire involvement. Let them participate in or help set up experiments. If possible, allow them to assist younger students all these activities and instill confidence in themselves under developing science skills, which increase as they participate and understand more. The next steps is build confidence through participation. So students in this age group understand the world around them somewhat and often become anxious about the future. So they crave confidence in their work and are usually eager and desire involvement. Let them participate in or help set up experiments. If possible, allow them to assist younger students. All these activities instill confidence in themselves under developing science skills, which will increase as they participate and understand more. And the next is elevate boredom through activity. So this age group may become easily frustrated and impatient while waiting for a part of an experiment. So during waits, they'll do their best to have short spans of intense work. Examples of this are utilizing a science notebook or setting up the next step of an experiment. They can also collect specimens such as rocks, insects, and plants. Students may also benefit from being interesting books on science topic they're studying. Next is encourage skills through a science notebook. So students develop their increasing written communication abilities by using a science notebook. It's a permanent place to record thoughts, data, and drawing about observations and experiments as well as results based on experiences. Using a science notebook also strengthens students' grasp of the scientific method as they record its step and experiment while it's performed. And next, tell students they are scientists. Through observation and experimentation, students are performing real science. Students in 3rd to 5th grade understand the importance of science in society. Ask them what areas of science interest them. Then provide as much opportunity as possible for them to independently pursue it. Fostering a love, science helps students encounter the world at a deeper level. It may even set a course for future science careers. And the next is the teaching methodologies in elementary science. First is the teacher-centered. So often thought of as one of the most traditional teaching methods, the teacher-centered methodology attention is concentrated on the teacher. Teachers are in charge of the classroom and direct all activities. Typically, in this approach, children are created at individual desks that face the teacher. While group work may take place, most classroom time is spent with the teacher explaining concepts and assigning individual work. And the next is the student-centered constructivist approach. Many of the teaching methods and strategies on this list are considered student-centered or constructivist. In simple terms, it turns the focus on students rather than only on the teacher. In this approach, children may sit in a small groups, access centers, and possibly move about the classroom freely. Children play a more active role in the learning and they may help choose the topics they learned. The third one is the project-based learning. It is a relatively new teaching method. Project-based learning is a teaching method that falls within the student-centered approach. As the name suggests, in project-based learning, students complete projects. However, these are big meaty projects in which students acquire knowledge, research, critically evaluate and analyze, make decisions, collaborate, and more. Also an important tenet of the project in that students may have choice. Another one is the inquiry-based learning. What if learning was question-driven? It is exactly that inquiry-based learning is about. In this approach, our teacher guides students to develop critical thinking and problem-solving skills. To learn these skills, the teacher helps students think through process, teaches them possible approaches, and encourages them to try various methods. Students are encouraged to fail as a part of the process and then improve their performance in the subsequent activities. The next is the cooperative learning. As the name suggests, cooperative learning involves a lot of group work. However, it also requires a lot of structure, observation from the part of the teacher to make learning as effective as possible. Some commonly used cooperative learning strategies include the think, pair, share. Discussions in a small group of peers can also be effective as can be a jigsaw approach. Under the jigsaw model, students are broken into small groups, read and learn for a certain perspective. Then one group member from each of the groups from new groups and they bring the understanding that group. And the next part of our topic this day is all about the 50 innovative method strategies in teaching science and elementary grades. Okay, class, are you ready? So, it is important to us to know the innovative methods and strategies in teaching science and elementary grades. So, let's proceed to the slides. first is the hands-on learning. This is the best teaching method invented so far that involves the active participation of students to experience scientific concepts than to just have an audience view. So, schools are promoting to use of a low-cost apparatus in classrooms to help students to have a hands-on learning experience. It can be a string telephone to teach about sound communication, matchsticks, mechanotic, 3D structures, notch pencil to teach rotation motion, or anything similar. So that's a hands-on learning. The next is the storytelling. Students love hear stories and therefore storytelling is one of the best ways to get their attention in the class. So teacher can explain the facts of biology or the laws of physics in the form of stories. So this is a mental organized or human brains can remember stories than just plain facts. So some teachers present the whole concept as a story while others use a story to open and end up the session. The next one is the role play. This innovative method is becoming an integral part of science education as students can intellectually and physically involve through activities while learning a new concept. So activities can be organized as classroom sessions where a group of students can take the role of atoms or molecules to study a chemical reaction, or they can represent a scientist group to demonstrate the particular scientist laws. So that's the role play. The fourth one is the sports-based learning. This is an interesting to learn problem-solving physics or stepwise to study complex chemical reactions. The next one is the visual clues. Using visual clues easily supplements auditory information and students can easily connect better ideas. So, the multi-sensory experience improves their understanding and memorization. This includes drawing, diagrams, pictures to assess, and setting up examples to show application safe. The next is the visual clues. Using visual clues easily supplements auditory information and students can easily connect. And the sixth one is the instructional conversations. Building instructional conversations is a key method to teach science vocabulary. Let them talk between the lectures about the experience they had with an application related to the topic of the discussion. So they promote their dialogue construction in science as they communicate using scientific and technical terms. Make this a classroom strategy to help students to easily learn science vocabulary. The next is the science text card. This is an innovative teaching method to convey the science facts in an easy organized way. In this activity, statements related to science concepts are written on index cards. So students can work individually, pairs, or in groups to sort the cards based on the given format. So the formats include true or false, disagree or agree, matching pairs, classifications, sequences, and more. Here are the pictures shown in the screen. These are the example of a science text cards. The next one is the word games. This is a creative strategy to help elementary students to experience the language of science. Hangman, dictionary, dingbats, bingo, Scrabble, odd one cat, charades, trivial, pursuit, etc. are the common games. So, playing these games using scientific terms help the students to work closely with different hard to understand words and use them fluently in the subject. The next is the graphic organizers. So this teaching approach is helpful for students to interact with science in a more organized and structured way. Teachers can use different types of templates to represent the data according to the topic that is being handled. So a typical format of graphic organizer contains a central point for which different branches are formed and they may be sub-branches in a certain cases. Arrows are used to point the direction or sequence of the process. In these slides, we can see the graphic organizer. Here are my example of Venn diagram, the concept map, and an e-chart. This is the example of the graphic organizers. The next one is the world parts. This teaching strategy is followed by teachers to educate the basics of science and elementary students. While introducing new scientific terms, they can reinforce the statement or the structure of the words. So, students are asked to identify and understand prefix, suffix, and base words and to relate the meanings. For example, metamorphosis, metallurgy, morph change, oasis process, photosynthesis, photo, light, scent, make. ISIS is a process. The next is the virtual science. These are mini virtual science labs available online for free, and therefore, this approach almost gives hands-on experience of learning the subject without much expense. So students can also use Vine to document and to share science videos, Pinterest's account for sharing images, for research, projects, or writing prompts, or WordPress class account for peer-to-peer learning. The next one is the social media. So the different social media platforms can be used wisely to teach science to make the science classrooms more interesting and engaging. For instance, students can be asked to follow scientists in Twitter and share his or her new thoughts and findings in class, or to use Feedly for improving the content of the research projects. So, students can also use Vine to document and share science videos, Pinterest account for sharing images, for research projects and writing prompts, or WordPress class account for peer-to-peer learning. The next one is the word walls. Science word walls in classrooms can stimulate the interest of students in the subject and opportunity for them to illustrate different concepts in an advanced technique. A more in-depth understanding of different scientific terms can be made possible. Pictures that accompany words. So this is also an option to help them better understand words with multiple meanings. Teachers can design creative word walls or ask students to contribute the idea weekly or monthly. So these are the example. In the slides, we can see the word walls. This one is a word walls. Another one is example is the crossover learning. We can see on the screen, this is the crossover learning. The next one is the thinking maps. This is an ideal way to visually represent different thoughts process which help to organize the science education with better flow. There are different types of thinking maps available which can be chosen wisely to represent the particular topic. The next is the mini anchor charts. These interesting charts are a great idea to give detailed overview explanation of a science topic. Teachers use it interactively, teach areas such as scientific methods, types of plant life cycle, states of matter, mixtures, solutions, pairs, and motion, and more. So these are the example of the thinking maps like the anchor charts, 3 stages of the matter. So this is in the screen we can see, this is the thinking maps. The next one is the crossover learning. In this teaching method, students are given opportunity to learn in multiple settings, such as inside the classroom, museums, field trips, or clubs. So teachers can use this method effectively by proposing a question in the class, taking students to informal settings to find answers, and then going back to the classrooms to discuss and share the findings. This way, learners can record, link, recall, and share their diverse learning, advance to explore the topic, and get deeper level understanding. So the next is argue with science. Learning through argumentation gives students a widened thinking to constructing ideas would in turn deepen their understanding. So they can refine ideas with and engage with an open-ended question and restate observation remarks in a more scientific language. Teachers can also give them an approach and share intellectual enterprise in them. So here is the picture. We can see this is the crossover learning. So the picture also shown there, this is an example of an argue with science. Then the next one is the context-based learning. In this method, students are given the opportunity to create context, and explore ideas from them. The interests with surrounding hold conversation with subject expert, make a relevant notes, and attempt to modify the nearby objects. So the context can be understood and detailed by exploring the world around. They gradually help them to interpret new information from the context and relate to what they already know. The next one is the computational thinking. This is an advanced technique to improve thinking and problem-solving skills. This method comprises decompositions, breaking large problems into the small units and pattern recognition, limited problems to the ones who were already solved successfully in the past. So, computational thinking skills also cover algorithms step by step to approach to reach a solution, abstraction, neglecting unimportant details, and debugging, refining these steps. The next is the computational thinking. This is an advanced technique to improve thinking and problem-solving skills. The method comprises decomposition, breaking large problems into small units and pattern related problems to the ones who were already solved successfully in the past. The next one is the remote labs. Learning by doing is an unparalleled approach to teach science, and this is made by a reality with remote labs. Students are given access to authentic scientific tools and opportunities to control remote experiments. So this would enhance their inquiry and conceptual understanding, and also the student can learn and explore with motivation. The next one is the embodied learning. And this approach, mind and body of the students are together to explore science. The physical feedbacks will as the resultant actions will reinforce their learning process. This idea is well imported by today's technology such as visual systems that track movement or wearable sensors to collect physical and biological data. In the screen, this is the example of embodied learning. The next is Science Museum. Give opportunity to students to visit a science museum as part of the learning process. This gives them access to innovative resources that can visualize data they learned in the class. So they can have a look at the real work of scientists, which improves the urge to learn about it further. Regular visits to museums make learning science are more engaging and interesting. The next is the project. This can be individual activity or group activity, which helps students to showcase the application side of what they learn through the theory. So this method involves the choosing idea, building a plan, executing a plan, and finally evaluating it. When students pass through these stages, they can improve their skills to express ideas, problem solving, overcoming the challenges, teamwork, and self-assessment. So, in the screen, we can see the sample. This is the projects. The next is the multimedia approach. This method is blend of text, audio, animation, video, style images, or interactivity content forms to teach diverse, difficult to understand concepts in science. The next is the ICT-enabled learning. ICT refers to the use of information, communication, technology to teach the scientific ideas that promotes open source learning. So in order to make the accessing, storing, transmitting, and manipulation of information more easy, this approach integrates telecommunications, computers, and relevant enterprise software, storage, middleware, and audiovisual systems required to handle the topic. So here in the picture, this is my example that we can see. This is the ICT-enabled learning. The next is the video clips. These teaching techniques makes use of instructional video clips available online or in libraries to show and teach a new concept. Thus, evolution of a process can be conveyed better with animation, videos. It can be video of demonstration if an idea and application side of a theory or an interview with a science tutorial by a subject expert, and more. The next is the PowerPoints. Instead of the conventional talk and chalk methods, teachers now include PowerPoint presentation in their classroom sessions to make it more interesting. So they connect the computers to the projectors to address a larger classroom and include interesting science with diagrams and flowcharts to make the teaching more interactive. So this is the example of the video clips that we show. Like for example, call science videos. The PowerPoint. So this is the PowerPoint we can see in the screen. The next is the mini labs. Mini labs allow students to take part in the hands activities inside the classrooms to illustrate a concept. This makes a classroom sessions more fun, engaging, and memorable. So students can attempt to mock up day or night with a globe and flashlight, build circuits, test for conductivity and magnetism, produce mixture and solutions, or model the formation of elementary rock, and more. So the next is the science fair. Schools should conduct science fairs and part of their teaching strategy to promote students' interest in the subject as well as to evaluate their level of understanding. So this is the example of mini labs. As we can see on the screen, this is also the example of science fair that we see in my screen. This is a science fair. So the next is the research box. The teacher can promote the use of research box in a classroom rather than just textbooks and lecture notes. Students are asked to do a research on whatever topic is covered in class by means of libraries, websites, or by talking with experts. This can include extended information of the syllabus and their findings with diagrams and charts to emphasize it. They can share the research box with the classroom too. This can include the extended information of their syllabus, their finding diagrams, and charts to emphasize it. They can share the research box with the classmates too. So this is the example of the research box as we can see in the slides. So this is the research box. For example, that we can see the girl who taught in the pictures, pop-up sizzle boom, like the ultimate body pizza. The next is the documented problem solving. This method, the teachers and students record the thought process when solving a problem. They are asked to explain the reasoning for reaching the particular solution rather than simply presenting solution. The next is the science kit. This is one of the innovative methods of teaching science kids and actual and adults alike. Let it be physical science, life science, earth science. Teachers are now making use of science kits to back students have an engaging educational experience. So they can conduct a small experiments with guided instructions to identify rock organism to watts of insect metamorphosis or demonstrate chemistry reactions. The next is the science stations. This fun, quick, and engaging way to teach science that promotes student-led learning. Science themselves in topics, experience science and the fullest, and then expect back on the learning. So there will be a multiple station belt with the different learning styles, and students can research, explore, watch, read, write, access, and illustrate the science concepts. The next is the observation station. So more than just the textbook assignment that have limitations and exposing the topic, these advanced observation stations help students to build up their research, observation, and creativity. So this includes activities that help them to have understanding of a specific concept using 5 to 6 stations with varied options. So these activities includes determining mass, triple beam, balance, or testing objects to find out their electrical conductivity and magnetism, and lot of more. So the next is the peer-to-peer teaching. Students take the role of teaching each other that promotes excitement, learning science in peer-to-peer teaching approach. They are really engaged in the content by discussing scientific topics, generating questions, and asking in themes to explore new information. Then the next is the science movies. Teaching take initiatives to take them for science movies in the theaters or in the school halls that clearly showcase the application of scientific concepts. So more than just entertaining them, many science movies captivate their attention of illustrate diverse science concepts in the real world. Science and nature-focused documentaries is one of the best ways to introduce science to kids than spoon-feeding them with textbook content. So this is the example as I put on the screen, the peer-to-peer teaching. This is the peer-to-peer teaching. So this is also the science movies like the Honey and the Kids. This is the example. So the next is the science games for kids. Kids always love to play, and that is why smart teachers introduce science to them with interesting games. They can learn more about science and technology with fun. So a wide range of games available online that showcase the concepts of animals, plants, space, forces, light, sounds, magnets, electricity, water, and gases. These are games with multiple ideas and passing each level a new concept and illustrates scientific experiments. The next is the science songs. This is also another creative teaching method to teach kids about the science world with fun. So science is real. Meet the elements. The star song and the motion song are a few the popular science songs available online. So there are many available science songs in online that we can see in the YouTube. Like, for example, this song, My Eyes. Use my eyes to look and I see my friends, my pets, and my family. Seeing them makes me happy. My eyes are important to me, so I need to protect them. This is I know. So, this is an example of a science songs. The next is the science exhibition. So it encourages your students to take part of the science exhibition, such as part of a school level or enter school level competitions. This is a great opportunity to bring out their creativity in the science and design application in based on a specific concept. The next is the mobile app for science. A number of mobile apps are available online for elementary, middle school, and high school students as well as for the undergoing advanced students. Today's kids are free and they love to learn science using their gadgets. The next is the field trips. The middle of boring classroom sessions, take your students out for field trips to experience science while learning. Go to an aquarium, nature center, scientist home, or visit pet store. So, you can also spend some time with the students at the bird park or simply go on a nature walk to experience the science around while learning new concepts. So science clubs, set up the science clubs in your schools or community with us in ideal approach to STEM education that assimilates high quality hands-on instruction. So this is the right place for science enthusiasts to share and discuss new happenings in the science world and connect innovative ideas to what they are actually learned. So this is the field trip as we can see in the picture. So this is also the science clubs. So the next is the reward recovery. So right from the elementary classes, teachers should support, guide, and inspire students to discover wonders of science. So, with an inquisitive mindset, there are a lot to discover the science and world we are living in. Also reward them for the small discoveries they make and let them share and present in the class. The next is the interactive science journals. This is an advanced version of lecture notes which students express and the information they can learn into different templates and elicit their own responses. So students are used the techniques effectively to have a deeper connection to their learning, and this activity promotes the higher level thinking. They can be creative with their notebooks using pictures, charts, and comments, thus building an encompassing resource for future references. So this is the reward discovery as we see in the picture. The next is the interactive science journals as we see in the picture. So the next is the science at home. Like scientists say, science starts from home. Encourage your students to discover science at home. From elementary classes itself, ask them to find out a specific science concept application at home, assignments, and let them discover science on the go. So science at home, like this one at the picture that we can see. The next is the flipped classroom. In this innovative teaching technique, students are asked to go through video instructions or tutorials in the initial stage, digital learning. The second stage will be in the classroom where they involved in a challenging task and assignments based on the information gathered through video, and this flipped learning frees up class time for activities such as hands-on labs, guided practice, or online stimulations. So this is the flipped classroom examples. The next is the guided discovery problems. Understanding science is more than just knowing some facts, and the guided discovery problems method make it possible. This technique can be integrated into the lecture lab and field courses. So this is the guide discovery problems picture as we see in the screen. The next is the fishbone. This is a visual tool for organizing critical thinking, which is a good approach for problem solving in science. The fishbone diagram helps to teach students about the root causes leading to a problem and quantifying the relationships between effect and cause. This is more effective when teaching group. In this diagram approach, the head of the fish represents the chains. These ribs show the reasons and have the supportive evidence. So this is the fishbone diagram. The next is the science quiz. Include a quiz as a part of your classroom sessions. When teaching science, this can be done as whole class activity by splitting the group into 4 or more sets. The questions can include application of the theory taught by the class. Students can discuss and share ideas to find the solutions with a stipulated time frame. So this is the example for the science quiz. So quiz for a student, like for example, which organ can purify our blood? The heart, the kidney, and the brain, and the liver. So the last one is the build your models. This can be a challenging build task to convince students part of the science education. Models are the building blocks of science which can use to explain the diverse aspects of real world. So, ask your students to build your own model and using scientific knowledge they have acquired and can provide supportive guidance. Students will be creative in making models and designing their own imaginative means of telling them. This is the right approach to find the science in them. So this is the build your model. This is the example as we see in the screen. So the next is the approaches in teaching science and elementary grades. First is the inquiry approach. If you want to develop in the child the spirit of inquiry, use inquiry approach while teaching science. Inquiry approach begins with a puzzling event like blowing out of an electric bulb in the class. Children inquire when there are explanations to be given or obtained. After the puzzling problem is presented to the children, they may ask the teacher some questions. You should not give the children their ready-made. So that's the inquiry approach. So let them inquire. You may answer the children's questions with a yes or no. So each question may be in the form of a small hypothesis, such as teacher-student interaction may continue till the children begin to formulate hypotheses about what happened the puzzle event. Then the children verify this by hypothesis after searching through reference material and doing little experiments. So there are advantages and the inquiry approach. So children are proactive and work under the guidance of their teacher, and they learn to formulate hypotheses and also verify the hypothesis. Then they are trained to learn on their own. Then they have also the disadvantages in the inquiry approach. So this method is low and time consuming, and that's suitable for the children of all age groups and require practice for teachers to teach science by this approach. And the next approach is the teacher-centered approach and child-centered approach. So teacher-centered approach Studies on the classroom dynamics reveal that on the average of 95% of the time, the teacher speaks and 5% of the time. So the children are given chance to speak, where the children other are given no opportunity to speak or have a little opportunity to ask questions or interact. This is teacher-centered approach of teaching. So lecture method and lecture demonstration methods are examples of teacher-centered approach. So this is a very effective approach for teaching skills such as reading a thermometer, reading a spring balance, preparing gases like hydrogen and carbon dioxide. All these skills can be developed through the teacher-centered approach. Teachers tell children what to do and how to do until they learn. The next is the child-centered approach. Some teachers speak less in the class and find opportunity to their children to speak to do more. Here, child is a center of all activities in the classroom. So method, while teaching science by lecture method, these innovative teachers involve the children in interaction through question and answer sessions that ever their lectures and lecture demonstration becomes child-centered. To sum it up, it is very important to us future educator that we have learned the different strategies, methodologies, and approaches in teaching science because it is easy us to handle our students and different learning styles in teaching, and it will be used to our future someday. And we really enjoyed this. I'm glad that this course taught us so many effective instructional methods. There are ways, a very broad range for teaching. We'll learn many variable learnings and teaching strategies and have been exposed to many great resources and activities. That's all about my topic, about the strategies, methodologies, and approaches in teaching science and elementary grades. That's all. Thank you, and I'll have a good day, and God bless us all. Thank you, Sir Mandalo.